Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts. Welcome back to The World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi everyone, how was your week, Belle?
Well, I've been head down trying to keep warm by burying myself deep in a story about architecture, and it's all about new architectural openings around the world. It's a humongous story for the traveller section of the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. You'll have to read it out on Saturday to find my hot tips about best buildings going up around the world. And I've also just had a snappy little cover story for the 10 new upcoming destinations around Australia for the Canberra Times. So think East Arnhem Land, Townsville, Eyre Peninsula. There's so many awesome destinations. I'm encouraging you to look past the faves such as Noosa and Byron, as lovely as they are. And you can see that online at exploretravel.com.au.
Yes, and two of my favourite places in Victoria were also on that list, which are Bellarine and Gippsland, and the latter where I spend a lot of time hiking, which our regular listeners would know all about. And also, as well as an abundance of nature, they also have burgeoning food and wine scenes.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the other thing I've been doing is prepping for our interview this week, which is about going on an African safari. So have you been on safari, Kirsty?
Not in Africa, but I have been on safari to Yala National Park in Sri Lanka. And, nothing quite beats hearing an elephant shuffling through the landscape, especially when it's got a little baby with it. What about you, Belle?
Yeah, well, I've been to Yala as well. My highlight there was leopards everywhere, just dangling off the trees like scarves thrown over a branch. Absolutely amazing. I have been to South Africa to see the Big Five and an absolutely momentous puma spotting adventure in Patagonia. And I have to say, I wish I had the safari fashion knowledge that I have now, because I wore a red carpet jacket.
We did cover this off once. We did a fashion faux pas piece, and Belle talks exactly about this. So scroll on back to see if you can track that episode down, people.
It was hilarious. So what have you been up to this week anyway? Are you still on a come down from Italy?
Oh my gosh, I know I am, because it's been so freezing cold in Melbourne. So, yes, I've been back full steam ahead writing stories about the Euro trip, the signature luxury travel and style and Australian geographic adventure. And I also wrote a story about Barcelona and the anti-tourism antics everyone was talking about, because we were surprised actually that, when I was getting all these messages about it, and you can read that at carryon.com.au.
So did you get caught up in that? Did you have water bombs chucked at you by irate locals who couldn't rent in their own hometown?
I know. Well, I think the way it was reported, everyone was assuming that if you were in central Barcelona, you were being attacked by locals. But we were literally right in the centre of Barcelona. We were in the Gothic Quarter, and we were walking for 3 days around the city. We did like 25,000 steps a day. So we covered a fair amount of ground, and we saw none of it. But I did talk to some of the locals, and in particular one of our drivers, about over-tourism and how it's impacting their quality of life. And obviously, for the locals, for instance, if you're around Park Güell and you can imagine there's a lot of people living around there. So you can imagine when there's literally like thousands of people descending on your doorstep, that it's challenging. And like he was saying, particularly for the elderly, and not to mention the pressure on public services too.
Yeah, it's a really hard one, because like in your case, you were already over there in that part of the world and you wanted to take your teens to those key monuments. What do you do? Do you avoid Barcelona?
Exactly. And the reality is all you can really do is try and book the tours early or very late if they do them later in the day. Like I saw the Colosseum's just announced they're doing overnight tours. And also, what we did is we were dining in places like we stayed away from Las Ramblas, and we went to tiny little, found some really amazing little places to eat, tapas bars in cobbled laneways, and that way you also know that your money's sort of going back into the pocket of locals. So the local tourism board is doing a lot of work on trying to disperse the tourists, and you can read about that in my story. And Catalan Tourist Board Asia Pacific Regional Director Raul Guila says that while Barcelona is proud to be the 5th most visited city in Europe, they're also trying hard to encourage people to consider how they travel. So like I mentioned before, he said, plan and book in advance visits to those flagship attractions and get off the beaten track a bit more, which distributes the number of tourists a bit more evenly. and also obviously makes the experience better for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who wants to be caught up in a huge crowd of tourists anyway? I mean, we're all tourists, but, travel is always going to be a priority for us, right? So we have to do what we can do to ensure that it's sustainable. Otherwise, we just might find governments imposing ticket prices that make it almost unaffordable for us to be able to experience these monuments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that there aren't that many solutions, right? So that's certainly one of them. So we have some stats this week that actually proves how important travel is to us. And a new survey by super fund Equip Super has found that 71% of Australians are prioritising spending their retirement savings on travel.
Travel, yes. Health was the second most significant priority in retirement, followed by spending on hobbies and interests. Although I'd argue that travel is a hobby and an interest, isn't it?
Interesting, health comes second after travel, but I think to be fair, I'd be about the same. So Equip Super's head of retirement, Sam Higgy, what a title, says it might feel like no surprise that Australians want to focus on travel in their golden years, but this is actually a turnaround from 2 years ago when the appetite for travel remained low. That's despite the end of lockdowns. That's surprising. That's debatable given the information that we'd had at the time. But he's saying for that age group, which makes sense because obviously they're obviously a bit nervous to travel. So he's saying that this trend underscores a desire for adventure and exploration and retirement. And it's the organisation is finding more and more members see retirement as an opportunity for new experiences and pursuing passions. Hey, who doesn't want to do that in their retirement?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some advice from a couple who are doing just that, travelling the world in their retirement. Sharon and Tim Nielsen are an Australian couple who have retired and been travelling the world permanently since 2010. So they've cycled from the Arctic Circle to Budapest. They have crewed on a yacht around the Caribbean for 4 months. They've driven across Africa in overland trucks. Talk about ticking retirement goals. Actually, I don't know about sailing around the Caribbean, but the rest of it sounds pretty fantastic.
I'll take the sailing around the Caribbean, and I don't even have sea legs. And they all fund it through rent from their house in Australia, and they've also launched a website and blog which helps fund their travels too, which you can find at catchourtravelbug.com. So what's their advice? I hear you screaming at your whatever you're listening to us on.
I'm screaming. I want to know, how do they do it? So they say to get your ducks in a row, have a solicitor, a power of attorney, or an accountant or a financial advisor, and set that structure up to give you the flexibility to do what you want.
Yeah, because you can't know what you don't know, right? And Sharon says super is an important part of the pot and they will use it if needed to keep travelling. She says if COVID taught us anything, it's that things can change in a minute.
And she also said, and I totally agree with this, if you want to do something, do it now. You might not be able to plan in a week, a month, or 6 months' time because that adventure you planned 2 years down the track may not longer be possible. So, whether it's because of a pandemic, geopolitics, or a natural disaster, or your own health.
Yeah, great advice.
Jump in, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see myself retired based in a Sardinian village like Pula, cycling around Italy and beyond. Or hey, maybe by that stage I'll just stuff myself with pasta and Aperol spritz.
When you've already got form on that one.
You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
This week, I'm chatting with Jacques Smit of Sabi Sabi, which is a private game reserve in South Africa. We're talking about how to choose a safari tour, animal conservation, and a few tips on packing for the wilds. So, Jacques, welcome to The World Awaits.
Thank you so much, Belinda. It's great to chat about safari in South Africa.
Absolutely. Well, you're currently in Australia, visiting from South Africa, where you're part of the Sabi Sabi team. So, I guess, first up, tell us, what is Sabi Sabi and how did you come to get involved in it?
Sabi Sabi is a family-owned private game reserve in South Africa. It's been around for 45 years. The same family that started back in the late 1970s is still very much involved with the foundation and conservation angle of the business. And yeah, it's got 4 luxury lodges on an exclusive game reserve, which is part of the protected areas and open park system in South Africa, bordering Kruger National Park. And we take guests from all over the world on safari, open vehicle safaris, and we basically interpret the bush, observe, and let guests really live out that dream of, coming close to some of Africa's amazing wildlife. I started with the company 18 years ago. Before that, I was selling Africa as a destination to Australians. And our preferred private game reserve at that time was Sabi Sabi, and that's how I got to know them, how I fell in love with their guiding ethic, how I fell in love with what they do behind the scenes, which is basically linking tourism to conservation. And before that, I was fortunate enough to travel around Southern Africa as a guide myself. So I've been in the industry for just short on 30 years now.
It's quite a journey. Tell us what a day looks like when you are on safari. I know that it starts. I mean, I've been on safari before. I remember getting up very early in the morning. So go on, prep me for it. What does the day look like on Sabi Sabi?
So you're right. The day starts with a knock on the door just before sunrise, and you get ready for your safari and you head out in the cooler hours of the morning. There's a lovely fresh pot of coffee waiting for you, or fresh juice or tea, or whatever your preferred drinks are, with lovely fresh pastries and fruit. And you head out on safari just as that sun starts opening up and or rising and heating up the day. And we enjoy a bit of a safari for about 3 hours. Try and catch up with the activities of the night before. Try and see, find fresh tracks and see what adventure unfolds in front of you. The predators are most active in the cooler parts of the day, so we would most likely go out and actively track and look for lions or leopard. If we're lucky, potentially wild dog and cheetah. But along the way, bring the entire bush to life. Sabi Sabi's always taken great pride in offering a complete holistic safari experience and not just focusing on the big stuff. You'd get back from safari rather hungry at about 9 o'clock in the morning and enjoy a beautiful breakfast. And all our camps have got amazing views out towards the bush. So even though you're not physically out on safari, you could be enjoying breakfast. And if a herd of elephant come to drink at the waterhole in front of the lodge, you're there. And everybody gets up and everybody goes and has a sneak peek and watch the bush unfold right in front of you. Then after breakfast, we offer guests the opportunity to either go on a safari walk, a bush walk, or we offer them the opportunity of going out to the local communities and experiencing where our foundation is basically using tourism to uplift the lifestyles of the residents of the local communities. Back to camp for lunch, and then after lunch, it's time to relax, go have a spa treatment, sit around the pool, enjoy a glass of wine. And then late afternoon, high tea is served, and you meet up with your ranger once again, and off we go on safari, and we're out in the bush as that sun starts setting. Once again, the cooler parts of the day. Now your predators start becoming active again, and we then stop normally just before the sun sets and enjoy a beautiful cocktail, a G&T, or a lovely glass of South African wine, or a craft beer, or a soft drink, and you watch that sunset. And after the sun is set, your tracker will pull out a spotlight, and we continue through the early hours of the evening with a night drive. And here we focus purely just on the nocturnal species, animals that you would not see during the day. Any of the diurnal species we avoid completely, just to ensure that there is no impact from the light on their vision and from their behavior. Get back to camp, 7:30, depends on what time of the year it is, and sit down and enjoy a beautiful meal under the stars.
That's a lot of eating going on here, can I just say?
There is a lot of eating going on. And I must say, we take that into consideration, and we partnered with some amazing chefs, and although we have a lot of eating opportunities, the food is very fresh, it's light. You don't have to have, big meals each time. If you want, it's available, but people can really just, have a relaxed dinner, few glasses of wine around the fire, and then, retired to your beautiful suite. And the next morning, the day starts all over again.
It sounds like a fantastic day to spend as well. What are the animals that you're most likely to see at Sabi Sabi? And has that changed over the decades that you've been working in this area as, you know, as our environmental practices and animal welfare practices have changed?
Yeah, it actually has changed. You know, it's you. So firstly, what you can see there's your plains game, which is your wildebeest, zebra, impala, kudu, your antelope species, and then you've got your big five, which is buffalo, leopard, elephant, lion, and rhino. You've got endangered species such as cheetah and wild dog. I think around 300 bird species. And then of course all the little night critters and nocturnal species. Everything that is found within the Greater Kruger region, you can find on Sabi Sabi. I do think that game viewing has changed in the last 15 years. We're seeing larger herds of buffalo. We're seeing larger herds of zebra. And because of these larger herds, we're seeing more predator action taking place. You know, when I started, we were lucky to see wild dog, once, maybe every 3-4 months. We are seeing wild dog now on a regular occurrence. I mean, there's a pack that actually dens on the reserve and we see them on a regular basis. There's also been successful cubs from leopards. There's been successful lion pride interaction. And although it's all very natural and often, you have different prides clashing with each other, the fact that there's more than one pride fighting to actually call Sabi Sabi their territory is a healthy position to be in. So I've personally seen the abundance of wildlife increased. I've also seen the natural interaction between species grow and healthy competition, which of course always results in, fantastic gene pool thereafter. But yeah, it's just through the practices that we do, I've noticed an increase in wildlife and also just noticed an increase in wildlife's comfort with our presence. And I can't remember when last I've seen any kind of interaction or body language of these animals has indicated that they're not happy that we are there. And that's, again, due to respecting them and making sure that we don't ever overcrowd them.
You don't have to. In Kenya, I remember, we walked back to our lodges at night, or back to our accommodation at night, and you always had a guard walking with you. Does that happen on Sabi Sabi as well?
Yeah. So during the day, it's fine. But the moment the sun sets, you need to be escorted walking to and from your rooms because we don't have any fences around the lodges. So your predators can easily come through. There is an elephant fence just to stop ellies from coming in and, again.
What's an elephant fence look like?
It's a high fence. So the first electric strand starts at 1 meter above the ground and then another one at 2 meters.
Right.
So
everything else can go underneath it.
But it stops the elephants. And it's just, if elephants get into camp, they feel cornered very quickly. And we never want to get that into, you don't want to put them under that kind of stress. So we just try and keep them out. But yeah, leopard, lion, hyenas, bushbuck, warthog, you name it, they all walk through the lodges on a regular basis.
So, you've got me sold on it. When you were going out and seeing those animals, you're talking about protecting the diurnal species, the species that are awake in the daytime, so you avoid them at night. What are some of the ways that you protect animals on the reserve here? I mean, this is a really transitory space as well, isn't it? There are no walls, there's no fences in the Greater Kruger National Park. So,
no, exactly there, Belinda. It all comes down to respect and empathy for wildlife. You've got your obvious, forms of protection. We do have an anti-poaching unit, which are there to protect your endangered species. But the biggest form of protection and preservation really is our behavior. And for the last 4.5 decades, every engagement we have with an animal is going to determine how that animal will treat us the next time we come across each other. So it's important to, through empathy, pay them the necessary respect and to make sure that we treat them in a way that they are never going to associate our presence with stress. And that way we make sure that animals don't want to leave the area. We obviously also manage the habitat, we manage the environment, and we make sure that, the natural cycle of grasses and trees and grazing and browsing material is available. And we do that through, various practices, such as waterhole rotation. We do controlled burns. We make sure that the bush is in as pristine condition as possible. And then we make sure that our behavior towards wildlife is as respectful as possible. And that two combined is going to ensure that animals are comfortable in our presence and don't feel the need to move off into another area.
So that brings about two questions then. The first one is, because I guess if if you are doing things such as rehabilitating hunting reserves or properties have been used for hunting, the animals are going to behave completely differently to what you're talking about, with that concept of respect, and also knowing that you're not there to shoot them, isn't it? I suppose that's the key thing. So if you tell me what would be the difference then of choosing a safari here as opposed to, say, in Botswana or Kenya? You're all competing in the safari space. What sets South Africa apart from the others?
So when people ask me, which should I do, Botswana or South Africa or Zambia or South Africa, to me it's a simple answer: do them all. Every area has got its unique feature. I mean, Botswana's got the most amazing Okavango Delta. Zambia's got, the floodplains and some amazing walking safaris. East Africa's got Serengeti, Kilimanjaro, Ngorongoro, Masai Mara. Every country has got its uniqueness around safari. What makes Sabi Sabi safaris different is just how close we get to wildlife and how we slow the pace down on safari. The big difference with us also is you'll never share a sighting with more than 2 other vehicles. So it's very unintrusive, it's very exclusive. But I've always encouraged people, come and do Sabi Sabi safari and then go and do a Botswana safari also, because it'll be different. It'll be water-based. Even the land-based safaris, you're going to view animals in a different environment with different vegetation. And even if you view animals on a daily basis, every day and every safari is going to be different. And that's what makes safaris so exciting, is nothing is ever the same. No day is the same as the previous day. No interaction with animals are the same. Their behavior changes. So, in a nutshell, I think Sabi Sabi offers very close and private encounters with wildlife. But I would encourage that people try and explore wherever they can and enjoy safaris throughout Africa.
So when you're booking those safaris then, how do you know that you are booking a good safari experience that doesn't exploit the animals? Are there any signs or red flags? I'm talking about when you're at home starting your research, because you can make, to a degree, that judgment, when you're on safari, if people are talking about things like geotagging and stuff like that while you're filing your photos, which is, that whole anti-poaching thing. But when you're actually at home doing your research, what are the red flags or what are the things to look for? Are there associations?
Australia is very fortunate to have extremely experienced African specialists based here in Australia. And I'd always encourage anyone who is wanting to start planning their safari to actually get in touch with any of the Australian-based African wholesalers. They have personal relationships with us. They have personal relationships with reserves and lodges all over the place. They also do their due diligence and homework around who they'd like to work with. And I think anything that is recommended by one of these respected African wholesalers, you'll be in good hands.
Did you want to mention any names for us? Because I'm sure there'll be people taking notes at this point.
I'd be afraid that I actually miss anybody. Because there's quite a few. But anyone that is in Australia and sell themselves as African experts, if you want to, contact a few of them. But there are quite a few out here that have been around for many, many years. and they are well distributed throughout the country.
Okay, so let's talk just a couple of nuts and bolts. When's the best time? This is always the question. When is the best time of year to go on safari in Southern Africa or in South Africa?
So, Belinda, the first thing, if you'd ask me when's the best time to go, I would ask you a simple question: well, when can you travel? And if you tell
I
me,
reckon I can go straight away.
well, then that's the best time to go. No, it's Sabi Sabi, and where we are located, we don't have any migration. Animals don't leave during rainy season or dry season, so we're an all year round destination. I would ask people a few key questions before I actually settle down on a time frame, and I'd ask them, do you like the heat? Oh, no. That's why I live in Melbourne and not in Queensland. Okay, well then avoid January and February because it is hot up in the bush.
How hot
are you a key? It's humidity. So you're looking, high 30s, and humidity could be around 90, 95%. So it's quite hot and muggy. Then I would ask people, what are you going to combine Sabi Sabi with? No, I'd love to see Victoria Falls in full flood. All right, that has a certain season. Or I'd love to go to Cape Town and want to experience some of the beautiful beaches around there. Okay, well then you avoid the winter months. So it's all around a few questions as to what are you trying to get out of your safari to South Africa, not to Sabi Sabi? And then based on that, we narrow it down to a window. I love it all year round. I'm a keen birder, so you have all your migratory species coming in from about October through to February, which is, just a flurry of beautiful birds all over the place. Not to say that there's no birds throughout the year, throughout the other times of the year. I do enjoy the heat, but at the same time, I love sitting around the fire when it's really, really cold at night. So the bush has an attractive side to it throughout the year, and it comes down to what is it you're going to combine your safari experience with. So I know I haven't answered your question, but I think it's important to actually know what it is you'd like to do in South Africa if you can travel anytime, and then pick around what it is, what's going to best suit Cape Town, what's going to best suit Vic Falls, what's going to best suit Botswana, because there are different seasons that have to be considered.
Okay, so that leads into my next question, which was actually one about packing tips. So what should I wear? And I know that changes with the season. Kirsty and I have a running joke because I was in Patagonia a few years ago we were spotting pumas in Torres del Paine National Park. It was midwinter. It actually was winter solstice. It was freezing. It's Antarctica is not very far away. And my warmest jacket was a bright red puffer. When the guide saw me turn up, his eyes just about rolled so far back in his own head, he saw his own brain. And so, I was kind of stuck. Should I be busting out the car key when I go? Because it's kind of funny when you see people on safari and they're just, they're living it. They've got the piss hat and the trousers. People dress for safari. They really do, don't they?
If dressing like David Livingstone's going to make you feel any more immersed in safari, you're welcome to.
Okay, thanks.
You joke about your bright red puffer. I've got a bright orange puffer.
Oh.
So yeah, we are like bright colors.
Because you don't get lost in the bush, that's the thing of when you're hiking. Right, yeah.
Exactly. The preference is neutral colors. But honestly, you're not going to see less because you're wearing something that's comfortable and warm. You're probably going to enjoy it more because you're not getting cold.
Oh, thanks.
And because it's a bright color, animals are not going to run away. I just find always wear something that's comfortable. Layer. So when it's cold, you can dress warmly, but guaranteed as that sun comes out, it warms up very quickly. And then you would like to layer and take the jacket and the puffer off. And, if you're wearing cargo pants, that zip them off and you got shorts on. Or when you get back to camp, you can go and put your shorts and your T-shirts on. We do offer a very casual, relaxed environment. So there's no dress code. I personally, in summer months, do like to wear long sleeve shirts. Just some light material cotton shirts. It just helps with mosquitoes, which we do have around there. So it just helps you, stop from the potential bites.
And the sun.
Shoes, comfy shoes, and the sun, yeah.
Mm.
Shoes, comfy shoes. You do not need hiking boots. You are not going to go out there and hike for, 10 hours. I wear very comfortable veldschoen, which is a, very easy to wear shoe that you'll find all over South Africa. It's like a suede shoe. And yeah, bottom line, just, whatever's going to be comfortable for you. And when you pack, puffers are the greatest things to pack because they don't take up space, they're lightweight, and they keep you nice and warm.
Thank you.
That said, if you do arrive there and you think, I misjudged this completely, we've got blankets on the safari vehicles. We have hot water bottles on the safari vehicles. There's shops at every lodge, and we sell gear for all seasons because we're a global environment. So, people coming from the northern hemisphere down to southern hemisphere to opposite seasons. I mean, I left Cape Town. It was pouring with rain. So my suitcase is covered with warm rain gear. And I've just had sunshine in Australia this whole time. So I haven't even worn it yet. So
no, that's okay. You're in Melbourne now. You'll be fine. You can use all of your clothing, all of your wet weather clothing. Yeah, absolutely. And it does get a bit cold too when you're sitting on the safari, especially when you're in the private reserves, you've got open top. You're in open topped vehicles, unlike when you are in Kruger National Park itself, and they're covered, aren't they? That's my understanding from it. So yeah, it can get a bit fresh on those early pre-dawn starts, I think too. Okay, you've given me my dressing and packing tips, and also a bit of shopping as well. So thanks for that. So we've obviously been going there for quite some time. Tell me how. Firstly, how do you get to Sabi Sabi from Australia? What's the route?
So, yeah, Australia's got direct access from Sydney with Qantas directly into Johannesburg. South African Airways have also just relaunched their very popular flight from Perth directly into Johannesburg. So you've got direct access. I think it's about a 12-hour flight into Johannesburg. And then from Johannesburg, you do not have to stay over. You can hop on a connecting flight and be in the bush an hour later. You could either go straight to Safari, or what a lot of people also do is they connect down to Cape Town, which is only a 2-hour flight, and then do a bit of Cape Town to get over the jet lag, go and experience some of the wine country, and then once they're well settled into the new time zone, then they fly up to Sabi Sabi. We have a regional airport close by, which is Skukuza, and that is serviced daily from Cape Town and also daily from Johannesburg. So access into the reserve is very easy. We also have our own private airstrip. So should people want to charter their own flights into the airstrip, that is also a possibility.
Amazing. So within a day, you can be on safari from Australia. That's a
perfect timing around this South African Airways flight out of Perth is they get in early morning. So it gives you the option to connect to wherever. And most Australians tend to explore a bit of Southern Africa, where we'd be part of the itinerary. Cape Town is almost always part of the itinerary, and many Aussies also link up Victoria Falls, which is also about 2.5 hours flight up from Johannesburg.
Amazing location. So you've got Sabi Sabi has, you've been with the company for many years, but it's actually in a period of transition at the moment, and that's, I suppose, why you're out in Australia talking about it. So tell us what you're calling the Sabi Sabi collection. What's the story here?
So I think, big owner run and a family business, we've been able to see the success of conservation within our reserve. We've been able to see the success of the community upliftment through tourism around Sabi Sabi Private Game Reserve. And we've been given the opportunity to take the Sabi Sabi model and literally plug it into other parts of the country. And to do that, we've rebranded as the Sabi Sabi Collection, and we'll be taking the Sabi Sabi style of hospitality, guiding, conservation, and our vision, and we'll be opening up a new reserve up in the Limpopo province, which is about a 20-minute flight away from where Sabi Sabi is right now, or about a 2-hour drive, depending on how you want to get there. And yeah, in time, Sabi Sabi Collection would like to grow into a few other, boutique hotels and some amazing experiences that we can showcase the best that South Africa has to offer.
And the last question, which is the question we ask all our guests, What is your most bizarre travel experience? And I'll give you bonus points if there is an animal involved in it somewhere.
My most bizarre travel story is it's happened to me personally. That's why it always stands out. When people ask me, I am fortunate enough to get to travel 3 months of the year internationally. And I had this long flight, Johannesburg. I can't remember, it might have been via London, but I was flying into Houston in Texas. And I got in, it was late Sunday afternoon. And yeah, I was tired, jet lagged. It's been a long flight, and I literally went to bed late afternoon, early evening. And I just remember waking up needing to go to the bathroom. And by the time I opened my eyes, I was standing outside in the corridor, and not knowing where I was, I thought I was going to the bathroom, and meantime I'd literally locked myself out of my room. And it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, Sunday evening, and to get to reception to get a new room key, I had to walk through the restaurant. And it was a packed Sunday evening with families enjoying a Sunday meal, and here I am walking, only wearing my boxers. And to get a room key, only to return back up to the room. And
through the restaurant?
Through the restaurant once again. I was there for 4 nights, and I think no matter which shift worked, they all knew who I was. And there was always a giggle every time I walked in and out of past reception. But yeah, that to me was one of my weirdest moments when I was traveling personally.
You didn't have an untoward political slogan or anything like that on your clothing, did you?
No, but luckily I had clothing on, which was very lucky for everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Awaits. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking us to Sabi Sabi in South Africa for a fleeting moment, and hopefully some listeners will find themselves there soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and we look forward to welcoming more and more Aussies to Sabi Sabi and the Sabi Sabi collection in years to come.
Thanks again, Jacques.
Thank you.
That was Jacques Smit of Sabi Sabi Game Reserve in South Africa. Love hearing about how passionate the team are about protecting the wildlife that pass through their game reserve. And you can find out more at sabisabi.com. This week, our tip is about where you can go on holiday for the best value. So Expedia has released its holiday value guide. So this is the regions including average daily accommodation rates that are under $300 a night. But there's also other things they took into consideration, like accessibility, and that's accessibility from Australia, and experiences.
And the top destination was Japan. The top destination was Japan. While its accommodation rates were higher than some others on the list, with Osaka priced at $222 a night, followed by Kyoto at $252, it came in number one because of its incredibly favourable exchange rate, the culture, culinary delights, and the incredible natural beauty. Everyone I know is either in Japan now or has just returned or is booking their next trip, with the yen at historic lows against the Australian dollar. So it's no surprise Japan is at number one.
Yeah, amazing. I haven't been to Japan for years, dying to go back. Indonesia came in second, with Lombok average accommodation per night at $173, followed by Thailand, where Chiang Mai was priced at $105. And both ranked high because of the flights available from Australian main cities, and of course their strong culture and the food, and also the natural beauty.
And Vietnam, in particular the capital city of Hanoi, came in next with rates of $135 a night, with Expedia also noting the direct flights available from some major Australian cities. I'm off to Vietnam in a couple of weeks, so I was reading this quite avidly. I'm going to be exploring Hue and Can Tho in the far south. And I'm flying into Hanoi and out of Saigon with Vietjet, which recently started flying out of Australia, which has really increased the connection between Australia and Vietnam.
So jealous. I was in Vietnam years ago, like 7 years ago or something. And it wasn't in Hanoi, but we took the kids to Hoi An, and oh my God, it was such great value for money. I found a place. We stayed at a place a few k's just out of the centre of Hoi An, and it was called La Siesta Hoi An Resort and Spa, and it was so amazing. It had these 2 pools and really easy access to. So we got bikes and we went biking around Kam Kam Island.
Of course you did.
And and it was amazing. It was such a cool experience, and the food and activities were also just really reasonable when we were there. So I definitely can see why that one is on the list.
And delicious, delicious food as well. So South Korea made the list as well for its food. It has a really fascinating food scene. The street food is phenomenal in South Korea, in Seoul in particular. Also, its artists and the tradition were part of the reason it was so high up on the list, which was then followed by Malaysia, fabulous value destination, and New Zealand followed after that. Auckland was listed as the best value destination in the whole of New Zealand, priced at $223 a night, and it got extra bonus points for its proximity to Australia, of course, for its beauty and its adventure activities. What do you reckon, Kirsty?
Yeah, I don't know about best value being Auckland, given it's the largest city in New Zealand. And I mean, I love my homeland and I grew up in Auckland, but it can be really expensive. And, you know, there's lots of other places around the country that would be more affordable, I would have thought, and are also less crowded if we're talking about, you know, overcrowdedness. Not that Auckland is, you know, can get, depending if there's...
It's no Barcelona.
It's no Barcelona. But look, if there's an event on, it can obviously get really busy. But food and activities can be really expensive in New Zealand. So just make sure you do your research before visiting and pre-book everything, because especially, you know, around the peak season, so that you don't miss out if you're trying to do something like Lord of the Rings activities and any of those sorts of things, or any of the adventure activities, you know, further down the country.
And the last 3 on the list are the Philippines, home to more than 7,000 islands, including lovely, lovely Palawan, which is one of the major islands. It has genuine accommodation bargains and absolutely incredible island hopping day trips. I honestly, I've never seen ocean like it. Like it's just incredible, and you just spend your whole time eating tropical, you know, gorgeous tropical fruits and fresh fish that's caught.
Oh God, it's definitely, that's on my bucket list. I think I'm going to have to make that happen.
Yeah, I'll give you some tips for where to go up in El Nido and the very north of Palawan. It's just amazing.
What about hiking and biking though? I don't want to just be sitting around sailing, looking at ocean, eating.
You'll be swimming. I think you've got to trade the roads are, you know, you've got cyclos. It's the Philippines, you know, I mean, Manila's traffic is one of the worst in the world, so I wouldn't be cycling in Manila. But I think you trade it for your flippers and your swimmers, you know, different type of exercise, Kirsty. You just can't eat while you're doing it. And and
are you implying that I was eating while I was biking?
Yeah, I am actually.
10 kilometres around Sardinia.
A little Aperol as you're scooting by. I reckon you were biking.
Yeah, what was in that drink bottle, right? And it wasn't water.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and also there's that French thing about cycling along, chewing on a baguette. So I'm all about the eating cycling. And Turkey showed up on that survey too, which Istanbul hotel rates averaged $215 a night. But beware the Istanbul injection. The food is so good, you're going to be checking a couple of extra kilos in on the way home.
Greece was noted for its 3,000 hours of sunshine per year, idyllic beaches, vibrant nightlife, and delicious Mediterranean cuisine, with Paris noted as a great destination dupe. Love a good destination dupe. And it is the dupe for tourist favourite island of Santorini.
I have no idea how many 3,000 hours of sunshine is, but it sounds really good right now. And Paris is gorgeous. I would add the car-free island of Idra as well on that list too. You're listening to The World Awaits. Subscribe through our website at theworldawaits.au.
Next week, I chat with Julie Jones, who's one of Australia's greatest champions of accessible travel. Most people may not realise 1 in 5 Australians lives with a disability, which means 20% of the travel market is searching for destinations, experience and accommodation that is inclusive and adaptive for specific needs. But as Julie explains in our chat that you'll hear next week, often the facilities are as far down the list on websites as if there's a dog water bowl.
And we would love it if you could give us a rating or a review. On Apple Podcasts, click on our profile, Scroll down to the bottom to ratings and reviews and hit those 5 stars if that's how you're feeling. And if you're on Spotify, go to our main page and click on the 3 dots under our photo. That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Writes on Instagram. That's Kirstie Writes, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.